Hello and welcome to Useful Idiots Monday Morning, where we watch the Sunday morning news show so that you do not have to. I'm Katie Halper.
I'm Aaron Maté. Good Monday morning. Thanks so much for being here. Great to start the week with you and some of the worst people on corporate TV. Our website is usefulidiotspodcast.com. Go there to support the show and get bonus content. Just a heads up, Epstein is back in the news. So this is a big week for Epstein watchers. The House is set to vote on finally releasing the Epstein files. This is after the Congress has reopened after the shutdown, and House Speaker Mike Johnson finally swore in a Democratic lawmaker who he was not swearing in, who was now going to be the deciding vote on the Epstein files. And funnily enough, Trump is now claiming that he supports the release of the Epstein files. But what do you have it? This comes right after he just said that the Justice Department should investigate Democrats' connections to Epstein, which means that if we get this House vote for the Epstein files, the DOJ might come in and say, sorry, open an investigation. We can't release them.
Exactly.
So, stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we often like to, it's not that we like to, we have to, we're compelled to sing. It just comes to us naturally. It makes me think of Epstein's back. All right.
100%.
Right?
That's the theme song for this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're back again. Indeed. Epstein's back in full force. Now, just a technical matter.
Yeah.
StreamYard has introduced this brand new feature against our will.
Yeah.
For mobile phones, which might mean that if you're watching this on a computer, if the visual looks weird, if it's like extra zoomed in on our lovely faces, what you want to do is leave that stream and go to the other normal one. So there's two now, thanks to StreamYard. We can't control that. But that's what's happening if you're watching this and you're confused as to why it's the camera zoomed in.
And how do they find this one? Oh, okay, good, great.
Just go to our YouTube page.
Bizarre.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I guess it's weird. Interesting. We got mixed review. I'm watching on my phone. I prefer the old way. Oh yeah, no, not a mixed review. Everyone likes it this way. So yeah.
Everyone is not happy with the new feature.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Bring old StreamYard back.
All right. Well,
Wilson, remember for the album, Mark, put in your notebook. Yeah.
Yes. The ever-expanding Useful Idiots Greatest Hits album.
Yeah.
All right. Well, something that's not changing and that never will change for as long as we're here is starting off with our weekly recap from Meet the Depressed.
The longest-running show in television history. This is Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Good Sunday morning. With the longest government shutdown in history now over, Democrats and Republicans are grappling with the fallout. 8 senators in the Democratic caucus voted with Republicans to reopen the government without the extension of those Obamacare tax credits that were at the center of the shutdown fight. With insurance premiums for millions of Americans set to increase next year if those subsidies aren't extended. Meanwhile, a bipartisan bill to release the Epstein files has garnered enough support to force a vote on the floor of the House, which is scheduled for this week, causing a major rift between President Trump and one of his longtime allies, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's pushing for the release of the files. Plus, the president now ordering the Department of Justice to investigate Democrats with alleged ties to the deceased sex offender. And against this backdrop, a new batch of emails from Epstein's estate has raised new questions about Mr. Trump's relationship with a former financier.
Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw strength because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break.
And joining me now is Democratic.
Also saw strength. I love that.
Yes, he saw strength. He saw strength in Trump being in the White House.
Yeah.
And maybe he also saw a former fellow sexual predator because Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of sex crimes and Trump has been found liable for sex crimes in a civil court and certainly has bragged in that Access Hollywood tape about grabbing women by the genitals.
Yep.
So maybe Jeffrey Epstein saw in Trump something beyond just strength.
Right.
Maybe he saw just a comrade in sexual depravity.
Right. Yeah. Strength in that area.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. Congressmember Thomas Massey has fallen out of favor with Trump Trump's like openly campaigning against Massey now because Massey has, among other things, led the fight to release the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And here he is talking about it.
The president has gone after you in some deeply personal ways. I mean, attacking you over and over again, even attacking you for regarding your wedding, your recent wedding, which, by the way, congratulations. What do you?
I mean, this was really gross. Thomas Massey's wife passed away about a year ago, and he recently got remarried. And Trump, who's been married, 3 times, cheated on multiple partners. In fact, cheated on all of his wives.
Yeah.
I think.
Equal opportunity. You got to,
Yeah.
he's very nice about that. He doesn't
Yeah,
favor one over the other. Yeah.
He goes and mocks Thomas Massey for remarrying.
Yeah.
It's just so rude. And again, for like his voters who like value politeness and respect for family and personal life. I mean, I don't know. It's just such a jerk move. But anyway, that's what Trump's doing. And Thomas Massey is still running for office, but now he's up against APAC billionaires, like people like Mary Mendelsohn, who are pouring a lot of money to get him defeated.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think also maybe just maybe Trump is mad at Massey because Massey's working with Ro Khanna, and Trump watches this show and saw Ro Khanna, and Trump doesn't like that we criticize him. So that could also be part of it.
Oh, he's stewing. Yes, he's stewing in his seat after watching you split it. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
What do you make of all that? And he's obviously supporting your primary opponents. I mean, what kind of retribution are you facing?
You know, my wife told me, she said, "I told you so. We should have invited Donald Trump. He's mad that he didn't get an invitation." So we're taking it with a grain of salt. He's being a bully or trying to be a bully. And they're trying to beat me here in Kentucky. But here's what's interesting. The people financing this campaign consist completely of 3 billionaires, and they're all in the Epstein class. In fact, one of them is named in Epstein's phone book, not the secret files that the FBI is keeping, but in Epstein's phone book. So it's a small world. Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning. I'm not tired of winning yet, but we are winning. And not only the speaker, but the attorney general, the FBI director, and the president himself and the vice president, they're taking a big loss this week because after months of fighting, I am winning this week with Ro Khanna. We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement. But in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
Well, not if Donald Trump has anything to say
exactly,
about it, because he's flirted very openly with the possibility of staying in office a lot longer than 2030.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of weddings and invites and Trump, made me think. And speaking of Epstein connections, it did make me think that, of course, the Clintons went to attended Trump's third marriage.
Yes. Well, I like how Thomas Massey refers to the Epstein class. I mean, that's who he's referring to.
Yeah.
Gazillionaires and bought-off politicians who all cavort with people like Jeffrey Epstein and support mass murder in Gaza. That's the Epstein class. And again, I voiced my skepticism on some of the maximalist interpretations of this whole thing. But anything that encourages scrutiny of Israel and exposes or brings sheds light on the elites who support Israel, I welcome. I absolutely welcome. And it's an interesting week. And you can see here sort of a bipartisan coalition, Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna. We're going to hear shortly from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, yeah.
She's also fallen out of favor with Trump because she's also called for the release of the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Among other things. So
Marjorie Taylor Greene, come on the show.
We have more from Thomas Massey.
Yeah. And Tom Massey, come on the show.
President's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. if they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
I think that's quite plausible. So Trump, after battling to block the Epstein files, finally he relents and says, release them all. But this comes after he's just gotten his DOJ to announce a new investigation of the Epstein files, but specifically targeted at Democrats. So
Right.
I think what Thomas Massey's warning about there, that this new DOJ investigation might be used to prevent the release of something damning about him or incriminating about him. I think that's quite plausible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to be, we'll have to see if he investigates himself. I highly doubt it. I think they're going to be investigations of people he doesn't like.
Yeah. Now, I will say, look, I do think the point that Trump defenders make, that if there was something so horribly incriminating for Trump, why didn't Democrats release it when they were in office? Like, Biden was in power for 4 years. Democrats could have released it then. So then the counter to that is like, well, maybe they didn't want to because they didn't want to incriminate some other powerful Democrats. Yeah. They're all
and cabal together. Yeah,
they're all depraved. They're all in a depraved cabal. So who knows, right? But I do.
The Lolita Express is bipartisan. I will say that.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
It's a exciting week for Epstein watchers. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the aforementioned Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is now drawn President Trump's ire because she's called for the release of the Epstein files, but also she's like called out Trump for doing nothing about rising healthcare costs. And she's pointed out that members of her own family are about to see their healthcare prices skyrocket because of the expiration of the Obamacare subsidies that Republicans refused to extend. She's also been very vocal in criticizing U.S. support for the genocide in Gaza. And Trump just declared her to be not Marjorie Taylor Greene, but Marjorie Traitor Greene.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a good one. I got to admit. Yeah.
Trump's got great luck when it comes to these nicknames.
He does. Yeah.
Anyway, she went on CNN, spoke to pro-Israel activist Dana Bash about the Epstein files.
Thing you posted just yesterday on X. You questioned who and what country is putting so much pressure on Trump to keep the Epstein files hidden. And
so let's just so people can see this. So here's what her tweet is. It says, this and the Epstein files is why I'm being attacked by President Trump. It really makes you wonder what is in those files and who and what country is putting so much pressure on him. I forgive him and I will pray for him to return to his original MAGA promises. And then it shows the rating. It shows her and it shows Lindsey Graham, and she gets a rating of A. He gets a rating of F in Liberty Score. And also she gets zero money from AIPAC. Yeah. Okay.
You included a picture about donations from pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. What are you trying to say there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the question that many Americans are asking, especially when we saw information recently come out in these emails that the Oversight Committee that I serve on has released. And we saw Jeffrey Epstein with ties to Ehud Barak. We saw him making business deals with them, also business deals that involved the Israeli government, and seems to have led into their intel agencies. And I think the right question is to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel? And I'm proud to say I don't take money from AIPAC. I don't take money from any special group of people. I'm just representing my district and the American people. And so that's what I was referring to.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying Israel is pushing the president of the United States to cover up the Epstein files?
So Dana Bash, who pushes every single Israeli lie to manufacture consent for genocide in Gaza, is now taking umbrage at the suggestion that Israel possibly might be tied to Epstein and might be involved in the cover-up of the Epstein files. And who knows what the answer is there, if Israel is involved in the cover-up or not. But the point is, given that Jeffrey Epstein is all these documented ties to Israel, as Marjorie Taylor Greene mentioned there have been a number of disclosures on that front, including that a former Israeli or an Israeli intelligence agent used to like stay at Jeffrey Epstein's house in New York City, and Jeffrey Epstein was like brokering deals for Israel and was very close to Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister. These are fair questions to ask,
Right.
especially given all the other shady ways Israel's involved in our politics, including by buying off politicians via AIPAC, and also via all the censorship we're facing on social media at the behest of Israel. So in a climate like that, whatever the actual facts are, these are fair questions to ask. But Dana Bash, who never hesitates to like repeat whatever Israeli lie is put out to wage genocide, is taking offense at Marjorie Taylor Greene even raising these questions.
Yeah. A friend who's watching right now, by the way, just texted me that according to this drop site article, the Pentagon, there was a Pentagon trip. There was a tour of the White House and Pentagon for Ehud Barak, and his grandchildren, which took place a few days later. The Pentagon trip was coordinated by Jeremy Bash, former chief of staff of the CIA and the Department of Defense, as well as the ex-husband of CNN host Dana Bash. So on some level, he appears in the Epstein files, her husband, Dana Bash's ex-husband.
And that's why Thomas Massey calls them the Epstein class. And Dana Bash is a card-carrying member.
Yeah.
Hence her offense at Marjorie Taylor Greene raising questions about it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And what evidence do you have that is the case?
I simply asked. No, I simply just.
By the way, again, if she had an Israeli, I've never heard her ask an Israeli spokesperson,
Exactly.
What evidence do you have for this claim that you're using to justify the slaughter of tens of thousands of people? I've never heard that question asked of an Israeli spokesperson.
Yeah, and also if she's so evidence-based, I would have loved to have asked her, as you kind of alluded to, Aaron, what evidence do you have that Hamas engaged in systematic mass rape campaign? And what evidence, if she cared about evidence, she obviously would have retracted that claim that she made. But she doesn't.
Asked out loud, is there a foreign government? It could be any foreign government, but is a foreign government pushing to keep this covered up? Because people just don't understand the big fight against.
Well, you had AIPAC up there. It was pretty clear which government you were talking about.
That I'm questioning that government in particular and questioning any other foreign government.
Dana Bash is so overt about it. She's so like, how dare you? It's not surprising. How dare you go after Israel? I mean, this is a woman who wears her bias on her sleeve big time. And remember, famously said to Pramila Jayapal when she dared to bring up civilian deaths of Palestinians in Gaza, she said, and that's terrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping Palestinian women.
Okay, let's hear more from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who again is in a really, I think, refreshing way, being willing to, speak out against Trump, the dear leader of the Republican Party. And you don't see this happening very much on the Republican side. So here's more.
And I can disagree with the president at times, particularly this past Monday on the Marines' 250th anniversary, when he honored the new Syrian president, who is an al-Qaeda terrorist and was wanted by our government for years with a $10 million bounty up until March of this year. I very much am against that. I think that was very hurtful to the great men and women who served over in the Middle East and were sent there, and many of them that were killed and injured and live with PTSD to this day from fighting al-Qaeda. So there's things I disagree with, and I'm allowed to do so.
Well,
So she's referring there to the fact that the new Syrian president, Ahmed al-Shara, aka Mohammed al-Jalani, who's the founding leader of al-Qaeda in Syria, former deputy leader of ISIS, he visited the White House and received a very warm welcome. And this comes from a president, President Trump, who campaigned on Islamophobia, who constantly demonizes Muslim immigrants, whose supporters pushed the whole thing about Zahra Mamdani being a jihadist communist. So constantly trafficking in Islamophobic slurs. But yet, when the former leader of al-Qaeda is now willing to play ball with the U.S. and is part of a regime change project that helped Israel, because Syria, under the previous government, under Bashar al-Assad, was part of the axis of resistance to Israel. And it was through Syria that groups like Hezbollah got weapons from Iran with which they could resist Israel. Now that has happened, now that there's been regime change, if you're even the former leader of Al-Qaeda and you're playing ball, then you're welcome at the White House. And so that's what she's referring to. And she's one of the very few people in Congress willing to call that out, that we're now willing to side with an Al-Qaeda offshoot because it serves the interests of U.S.-Israeli hegemony. You're muted, Katie.
Sorry. Yeah, it's really crazy that she's that this is the person we have to turn to make some certain statements that like the Democrats should be and could be making.
Including progressives, and I gotta say, including progressive media, which just has not covered the story accurately.
You mean CNN?
I don't mean CNN. No, as I've maybe mentioned a few times over the years. It's anyway, good for Marjorie Taylor Greene for speaking up about it, and maybe she can inspire other people to acknowledge the reality and what that whole war was about. Okay, let's turn to Senator John Barrasso. He's a Republican. He's on Trump's side.
He's a doctor.
Okay, all right. What does he think about Trump suddenly reversing course and opening up a new investigation of the Epstein files just as the Congress is voting to release them?
Senator, very quickly, 4 months ago, the Justice Department said there was nothing to investigate. And then hours after President Trump called for an investigation, Pam Bondi said she was opening an investigation. Is that appropriate from your perspective?
I think there's a lot more important things to talk about right now to get the country back on track, to lower prices for the American people. And that's what we need to do, is make life more affordable. The president and the Senate and the House need to be functioning and working on that, not on what's happened to a convicted sex offender who is now dead.
Senator?
The Republicans just want to talk about the issues. Why won't you let us Republicans talk about the issues? We want to make it like after Trump recently called affordability a hoax. Now the good senator, wants to talk about affordability because that's what really matters to them.
Right.
It's so funny how like they'll talk about anything else until it's time to actually, release the files. And now all of a sudden, it's how dare you bring this up? We care about affordability, even though Trump just called that a hoax. Right.
Yeah, he cares about affordability so much that he, for instance, voted against 2 motions by Bernie Sanders to block arms sales to Israel. Because that's
because he wants to make arms affordable for Israel.
Exactly. That's right. You're right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if U.S. taxpayers aren't subsidizing weapons for Israel, then Israel will not be able to afford them.
Right. True.
So he does care about affordability.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing Republicans talk about the issues, talk about affordability for arms sales, of course, for arms sales.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing they're making affordable. Okay. House Speaker Mike Johnson, what does he have to say?
American people just deserve the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to the Epstein files that Donald Trump and his minions made a big deal about for years, but now all of a sudden that they're in office, they're trying to bury this information.
And the president has said unequivocally there's nothing there regarding him and pointed out that if Democrats had it, they would have released it by now. So why is there any resistance to releasing any of this information? What can you tell us about scheduling the vote this week?
First of all, I have to point out what Hakeem Jeffries just said there is comical. Remember that Biden DOJ had every one of these files in their possession for 4 years, and neither Hakeem Jeffries or Ro Khanna or Thomas Massie or any of them ever said a word about it. They're doing this to go after President Trump on this theory that he has something to do with it. He does not. The people have already said, the Virginia Giuffre, whose name was redacted by the little leaked email that the Democrats put out. They cherry-picked 3 emails out of 20,000 documents to try to imply that the president was guilty, but they took her name out. Why? She's the one who came out and said he had nothing to do with it. President Trump has clean hands. He's not worried about it. I talk to him all the time. He has nothing to do with this. He's frustrated that they're turning it into a political issue, and it's not surprising because the Democrats have nothing else to talk about. What have they accomplished in 10 months? Epstein is their entire game plan. So we're going to take that weapon out of their hand this week. They hit the 218 signature threshold. And you know what I did? I offered it on the floor to pass by unanimous consent, the discharge petition. Guess who objected? The Democrats. If they were really for transparency, if this is really about helping victims and all that, they would not have stopped the passage of the discharge petition. So,
okay, well, all I know is this guy, Mike Johnson, refused to seat an elected member of Congress from Arizona, who would have been the deciding vote on a discharge position, and refused to even take up the issue. So I don't know what he's talking about now that he's been about transparency all along.
Yeah, exactly. And, he says that like Kana and others have never talked about this before Trump. That's not true. Kana had called for investigations and the release of the files since like 2019.
All right. Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned as the vote comes this week. And I look forward to the next phase of the Epstein shenanigans. But there are other issues, including the whole issue of healthcare in this country, which is we all agree, I think, is a terrible system. There's like millions of people who don't even have it. And those who do have it, many of them, 20 million of them, are about to see their premiums increase because Republicans won't extend the subsidies under Obamacare, which itself is a terrible system, but I think you could argue is better than nothing.
Right.
Anyway, how is Mike Johnson preparing to handle the looming surge in healthcare pricing and the overall crisis in this country? Let's take a listen.
Bankruptcy was the Democrats who wrecked American health care. Remember, in 2010, they created the Unaffordable Care Act. It did exactly the opposite of what they promised. Premiums have risen dramatically since that time, and they're continuing to go up. Part of the reason for that is that instead of fixing the problem, the Democrats just want to subsidize the broken system. They want to spend taxpayer dollars and dump it onto the broken system. What would be morally correct is for us to fix that. And so Republicans have been working on this, and we have many ideas and proposals that go to the root causes of the dramatic rise in health care.
When will we hear those, though? Do we get those before these new premium increases kick in for Americans across the country?
Yes. Well, many of these you've heard before, and we've done it. Just this year, July 4th, in the Working Families Tax Cut, the big, beautiful bill, the president signed into law some real innovations.
Some huge innovations, like cutting Medicaid for millions of people and then mocking those who are on the program as being people who are like playing video games in their mother's basement. That's such an innovation right there.
Oh, yeah.
From Mike Johnson Republicans, like new ways to innovate, mocking people who can't afford health care. That's pretty much been their main innovation.
Yeah, exactly.
What they do is they take advantage of the fact, they point out that, yes, listen, Obamacare is kind of ridiculous because the premise is we're going to have our healthcare system is so broken that rather than just guaranteeing coverage for everybody, we're going to keep it going by subsidizing for-profit insurance companies, because the current system of letting the market decide who gets healthcare or not means millions of people are not covered. So rather than saying, let's just cover everybody ourselves with a government facilitated healthcare program, we're going to just we're going to bribe the insurance companies to like cover a little bit more people. And yeah, that is broken, but it's better, I think, than the Republican alternative, which is nothing and throwing even more people off of healthcare and mocking those who receive it.
Yeah. Let's play the rest of that clip because he brings up an important number. But wait, guys, we need to hit these like buttons. I mean, I don't know how long we've been doing this show and how long I've been asking you. I would really like it if you could like it, because not even half of you have liked it. So give us a like. Okay, but let's go back to the clip.
The American taxpayers $185 billion, according to CBO, by some of the changes there. We brought premiums down. But this is what's interesting. We had another provision in that, in the House version of the Working Families Tax Cut that went to the Senate, that would have brought premiums down on average 12.7% across the country. Senate Democrats fought to take that out of the bill, so it didn't make it to the president's desk. We have more ideas like that. There's a lot of ideas that can bring down the cost of health care, increase quality, increase access to care, and you'll be seeing that rolled out in the next couple of weeks. Remember, we were always planning to do this in October, November, December. Ironically, it's the Democrats who took all that time off the clock by engaging in their shenanigans for political purposes.
All right, so the next couple.
So notice he brings up that I love that he chides them for their shenanigans, the Democrats, as opposed to the Republicans. But notice he brings up that number, right, about saving taxpayers $185 billion. And why is that? As you point out, Aaron, it's because they're throwing people off their health care. And the Congressional Budget Office estimates that by 2034, around 10 to 11 million people will be kicked off their health insurance as a result of the changes made in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And that number goes up to approximately 16 million when you account for this rule implemented separately by the Department of Health and Human Services. So if Johnson's healthcare is anything close to what they think healthcare should be, doesn't sound like he's fixing the problem at all, making it much worse.
I mean, everything he's saying is so disingenuous on top of all those fake numbers he's putting out and the claims about how they're bringing down costs. And then he's like, if it weren't for Democrats, okay, we would be able to roll it out. We would have been able to roll out our wonderful plan already. But there's shenanigans with the shutdown prevented us from, like, what's stopping you from rolling out your amazing plan if it's so incredible? Like, why not just show us? Like, show us the money.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, the problem is they have no plan because they're not even willing to rise to the Democrats' level of like subsidizing for-profit healthcare. They don't want to subsidize anything. They just want those who can afford it to get health insurance, and those who don't, sorry, too bad.
Yeah, precisely. And you know, it's like they talk about this like this is some kind of like intelligence plan that they can't reveal. Tell us the plan. Why wouldn't you tell the plan? That's actually how you like campaign and run, is you show your good plan and you push for it, and or you say, look at the Democrats blocking ABC, not blocking the plan.
Well, and we saw this recently where Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying that like she's asked Mike Johnson for what his plan is, and he said like, sorry, I can't tell Marjorie Taylor Greene because, you know, I'd love to reveal our plan, but the problem is then we run the risk of it being leaked to the media.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, again, is it like a state secret? Like, are we not allowed to know your plan to fix healthcare?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Guys, we're still at, I mean, that is such a funny point that we're making about the state secrets, and the least you could do in appreciation of that, as well as our Backstreet Boys cover. I mean, this is the best show, the number one show to do Backstreet Boys covers. I mean, at least the top 5 is like the show. We're still not even at halfway. And because I'm a good person, I won't leave and shut the stream off. But I'm tempted to. So please like, and only like once. If you like more than once, it cancels out. So please like, please clap. Okay. Oh, great. We're almost at halfway. Good job. Keep liking. Okay.
All right. So Dr. Mehmet Oz, he's the administrator of Medicaid. A great guy to have in charge of such an important program, a former reality TV show host. Why
Oprah
not?
loves him.
Yeah. So let's hear him weigh in on the issue of healthcare.
Still don't have a marketplace in America to help couples like that. We want to try to craft that. There are ideas that would allow us to do that. For example, we could give them the money instead of giving it to the insurance companies.
So that's a conversation that has been happening about giving. The president has said there are billions of dollars that the government could send directly to people to purchase their own much better health care. How would that even work?
Well, we don't have market forces at play right now. Think about, what is it called? It's called the Obamacare Exchange. It's a marketplace. What does marketplace mean? People actually have a role in a marketplace. They make decisions about what they value. It was originally designed to be 50% truly people from the private sector, like that couple coming in, and then 50% government subsidized folks who couldn't afford their insurance. We have priced the systems now so heavily with government subsidies that they crowds out the private sector.
How would getting a check in the mail actually work?
If you had a check in the mail, you could buy the insurance you thought was best for you.
Right, but how would the government actually make that happen?
Oh, we could use health savings accounts. There are different tactics, flexible.
Okay, but who do you buy the health insurance from?
Yes.
You buy it from the same health insurance marketplace that isn't covering people because it's unaffordable. So all they're doing is creating a new layer of bureaucracy on top of an already very complicated system. Like, rather than saying, you know, here is the plan you can afford in your tier because this is your level of income and blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, here's some money. Go out and buy a plan that you can't afford yourself.
Yeah, right. And how is that going to be negotiated?
Well, they want individuals now to negotiate for themselves.
Oh, that's going to work really well. Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole point of collective bargaining is like you have more power to bargain as a collective. And so basically what they want to do is even take that away. It's just such an absolute nightmare. And look, it does speak to a very real tangible difference between Democrats and Republicans, which I do think has to be acknowledged. It's awful as the Democrats are. And as many reasons as they give you constantly for not voting for them. You know, foremost being supporting a genocide. Republicans, like to remind you too that on certain core issues, domestic issues, they're just completely moronic and sadistic, where they just want to see even more people suffer.
It's really awful. It's like, oh, which genocidal party are you going to vote for?
Okay, let's go ahead to clip 10, because we have more from Mehmet Oz addressing people's concerns who might not feel so confident in his party's healthcare plans.
At a time, but if somebody is watching now worried that they are not going to be able to afford insurance at the end of the year, are you making a promise that the president and Congress will make sure that they can?
I'm promising the president is laser focused on this. It's the main thing I talk with him about. Congress as well is.
Okay, so I'm not going to promise you that you can be able to afford health insurance.
Yeah.
But I am promising you that the guy with no attention span who doesn't care about this issue is laser focused on it. So that's very reassuring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so funny. It's like, are you gonna can you promise that you're gonna pay me back the money I'm lending you? I'll be laser focused on it. Okay.
Yeah, and again, it's like we're talking about a guy, Trump, who has like arguably the worst attention span of any leader.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually funny. Yeah.
I mean, laser focused, which means he'll think about it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah,
before
exactly.
tweeting about what's on Fox News and what celebrity is pissing him off today.
Yeah, and also, what is this downward pressure that he's talking about? It's like it's really obscene and absurd, because the idea that individuals are going to be able to negotiate, right? Like, and also, according to I wrote this down before. According to a Government Accountability Office report from November 2024, between 2011 and 2022, 3 or fewer insurers held at least 80% of the market. So Dr. Oz, if he understands, the free market capitalism, where's the competition in there? How are you going to work on that?
Yeah, well, stay tuned, everybody, because the plan's coming. The plan is coming down the pike. All right, let's turn to Kevin Hassett.
Oh, gosh.
What is his job? He's with the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Is that his thing? Yes.
Yeah.
He's the director of the National Economic Council. His thoughts on healthcare in this country.
For health insurance premiums. And we have 20-some million Americans are going to have not just rising health insurance premiums, but skyrocketing. When do we get the Republican plan?
So it seems I'm kind of confused, because Obamacare is 100% a Democratic policy. The current path of Obamacare is 100% something that was created by Democrats. They added a big expansion, and then they knew they couldn't pay for the whole thing in a long time. And while they did that,
And by the way, I'm blowing my nose a lot. I'm very stuffy today, but he always sounds like he needs to blow his nose. I'm just encouraging him to use an antihistamine or a decongestant. Okay.
Let's finish that. While they put all of those subsidies into Obamacare became not affordable. It wasn't Affordable Care Act. In fact, the cost of these Obamacare premiums has gone up twice as fast as for the private market.
I mean, really out of time. Is there going to be a Republican plan to address that? Or is
yeah,
it just
of course, the president has already talked about blame Democrats. The Democrats are at fault for this. And in fact, we even had a solution for this in the big, beautiful bill, and they took the Byrd rule to take $30 billion away from people so they couldn't have the health insurance that they needed.
All right, Kevin Hassett.
So now Republicans are saying that they wanted to subsidize healthcare, the tune of $30 billion, but Democrats blocked that. That's the first I've heard of that one. Look, the whole thing is such a farce, because the Democrats were so cowardly.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to stand up to the insurance industry, to the point where, like, Obama initially in Obamacare, he was talking about having a public option, right?
Right.
Like a government funded, subsidized, run program. It's just a public option that people can have. But the so-called free market didn't want to have to compete with the government, because the government's not up to make a profit and to rip people off. So they got that killed. So we had to settle for this really inadequate program where, yes, Kevin Hassett's right. The government subsidizes a really inefficient system. But again, the alternative to that is more than 20 million people not having health insurance, which they got under Obamacare. And that's a Republican plan. So nobody has a solution, but at least the Democrat solution entails covering some people, even though it's totally inefficient and very costly.
Yeah, and note that Carl is asking a question about what kind of plan is going to happen, right? Are they gonna have? And Hassett, for some reason, talks about the past. That's a sign that he has nothing to respond with, right?
Yeah. So blame Democrats. That's
yeah,
the line.
exactly.
Blame Democrats.
I know. I feel like it's like in his notes. He forgot to. It's like a talking point, like bullet points. But he didn't know. He didn't. Maybe he shouldn't just say the bullet point out loud. You got to be more subtle.
And that's our lane. I mean, we make fun of Democrats for being
exactly.
idiots. I mean, if you're a Republican, and we can do that because we can advocate an actual policy, which is Medicare for all, cover everybody, and take away the profit motive that makes the system so inefficient and so unfair. But Republicans don't offer that solution, so they don't have the right to mock Democrats on this one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's hardly. Yeah.
All right. Well, there are more issues, including affordability. Trump campaigned on that. He's going to bring down the cost of groceries, despite being infatuated with the word groceries, which he found to be so exotic and interesting because he's so out of touch. Of course, that hasn't really happened. But there are some talking points that Republicans have on this front. So here again is Kevin Hassett.
Claims that Thanksgiving costs are down 25%. I mean, does he know that's not true?
Well, if you look at Walmart and the few places that put out their prices of Thanksgiving
wait
baskets.
a minute. I got to stop because the Walmart comparison's like not a thing. I mean, Walmart had a Thanksgiving package last year.
Jonathan Karl came really prepared for this one. He obviously knew that this was going to be the talking point about Walmart saying that Thanksgiving meal prices are down 25%. So he really came prepared for this one. Watch this response.
They've got a Thanksgiving package this year. The one this year contains much less than what the one last year took. So that's why the price is less. Look, we got a chart here. Last year, it was 21 total products. This year, it's 15. Total number of items in those products was 29% now. 29, now it's 22. There's more generic brand stuff. So, I mean, Thanksgiving, if you're going to the store to buy groceries for Thanksgiving, it's going to be more expensive this year.
I really don't understand where you're going in the sense that Joe Biden gave us 20%
He's not
inflation.
president. Donald Trump's the president.
No, and you want
Blame Democrats. Blame Democrats. Blame Biden.
Exactly. It's just everything on every issue. It's like whenever he's challenged on his own policies, he's like, okay, I don't understand what you're talking about here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the Democrats' fault.
Yeah.
Yes, they've been out of power for almost a year. But yeah, I'm sorry. This is their fault. So why are you coming to me?
Yeah. Yep. Also,
to fix the hole.
No, keep going, sir.
That Joe Biden does right away.
Why does the president tell
the prices went up so much under Joe Biden, and inflation is way down. Inflation is about half what it was in December. This is something that's being fixed fast, and real incomes are up after dropping about $3,000 under Joe Biden. And so, sure, you can find a few things where the price is higher, but there's a whole bunch of stuff where the price is lower, like gasoline, like
when are we going to get the Republican plan to
You understand that mortgage rates have gone way down, and it's much cheaper to buy a home now than it was when President Trump took office.
Down, right?
Yeah.
So.
By the way,
newsflash for home buyers, it's a lot cheaper now. So like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for, people? Everything's fine now. The economy has been rescued. Just go buy a home.
Go buy a house. Exactly. Yeah. Also, he says 20% inflation. That's the consumer price index said it's 9.1. It was 9.1.
And on the issue of, housing affordability, Trump just proposed that we change rules so that people can get like 50-year mortgages. So basically that they have mortgages for the rest of their lives and then some. So that's his big solution for affordability is like lock people into forever mortgages.
Yeah.
So, which means people are paying for their entire lives and possibly their next of kin, their heirs are paying as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, we had a huge controversy on last week's Useful Idiots Monday Morning, where after a group of Democrats caved on the shutdown, I came out and publicly said, well, maybe they kind of had no other choice because Republicans are so sociopathic that no matter what Democrats did, they weren't going to compromise on extending these healthcare subsidies. So Democrats will be shutting down the government and denying people food stamps for nothing. And Katie, you were not on board with that analysis. Many Democrats are not on board with that. They're mad at Chuck Schumer for not holding together the caucus and fighting for the shutdown. But here's Tim Kaine. He's one of the people who did cave. And
Kaine caved.
Kaine caved.
And are you a Kainian? Are you a Kainian?
I was only raising, I didn't take a position. I was just, I was raising, I was trying to.
You were raising Kaine.
I was raising Kaine. Exactly. I was raising Kaine. Anyway, someone who's not raising Kaine is AOC. She was not happy with Democrats caving. And here's Tim Kaine responding to that.
You and the other Democrats who did vote to reopen the government are taking some heat from some of your Democratic colleagues, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's how she describes the lessons that she thinks Republicans learned from all of this.
My concern is that the lesson that they're learning is that Democrats are weak and that next time we just need to hurt working people and working Americans more to get them to fold. And I don't want them to learn that lesson.
Senator, what do you say to that argument that Democrats projected weakness here?
So twofold. I have 320,000 federal employees in Virginia, and together with their families, that's probably 700,000 dependents. Getting them all back to work with 2 paychecks that they've missed restored, with protections against future firings. Some folks like AOC may think that's nothing. Virginians think it's an awful lot. And second, if the goal was to try to get healthcare front and center, she was not at the table with the Republicans in the Senate. And so maybe she thinks that the Republicans would have caved. Would it have been another week of SNAP recipients losing their SNAP benefits, another month of air traffic or air travelers enduring chaos and even danger, another 2 months of federal employees losing their paychecks? I was at the table with the Republican senators, and I knew if we wanted to get to the healthcare discussion, we had to open up government. And that was a vantage point I had that a lot of folks who are lobbying criticism didn't. I'm getting great feedback from Virginians, and those are the 8.5 million people that I represent.
And yet, Senator.
Well, according, by the way, maybe there's like an exception in Virginia, but according to a YouGov survey, most Americans think that Republicans benefited more from this than Democrats did. 38% of people in America responded that Republicans benefited more from the deal to end the shutdown. 9% felt like Democrats benefited from it. Another YouGov poll found that 70% of Americans thought the government shutdown was very or somewhat bad for the country. But interestingly, more Democrats, 74%, said it was very or somewhat bad that Republicans, more than Republicans said that. So Democrats were more dismayed by this than Republicans because of the results. And the people did not get what they were promised in return. Again, maybe there's a Virginia exception, but I highly doubt it.
It was such a classic Democratic thing where, like, right after the elections where there was all this momentum and Democrats like, we're back. Like, we won all these races. The people are with us. Like, we've got momentum. This is a mandate to keep the shutdown going. A group of so-called moderate Democrats are like, yeah, let's pull the plug on that. Yeah. Let's cave. Let's cave. Yeah. Let's cave.
Dems are back. All right. Give our power back.
What I'm hearing from Tim Kaine is sort of what I was trying to argue last week, that like you're dealing with sociopaths. Like they don't care that people are being denied food stamps. They don't care that like air traffic controllers aren't being paid. They were funding ICE agents. Like the ICE agents were still, the people kidnapping undocumented immigrants off the streets, they were still being paid. So for Republicans, things were going great, and Trump was also using this to like push forward more cuts to programs he doesn't like. And so I think the argument that this was in some ways empowering Trump, I think that has to be taken seriously, at least. I don't think, I think it was a tough issue when you're dealing with sociopaths. That was the argument I was trying to make.
Right. I mean, sociopath dealings are very hard. But as AOC has pointed out and others, let's say workers are protected from future firings and can access SNAP and all the other supposed benefits they got that Kaine exalts. Okay, now what? So they'll still lose their health insurance.
Right. Well, listen, what we can all agree on is that the shutdown brought new scrutiny on just what a bad leader Chuck Schumer is. And there have been many calls for Chuck Schumer to step down as Senate leader, including from Ro Khanna, a progressive member of Congress. Here's Tim Kaine, though, defending Chuck Schumer.
I don't tell Ro Khanna or AOC or anybody else who you should pick as your House leader because I got a full-time job being a senator. I don't need to freelance opinions about House leadership. They should focus on their own leadership and let senators do what we need to do to keep this country moving forward.
Senator, just very quickly, did Leader Schumer give you his blessing to end the shutdown?
No, he did not. He voted
Tacit
the other
or
way
otherwise?
than I did.
I understand that, but did he give you his tacit blessing?
Absolutely not. But Chuck and I had a really interesting argument about an unrelated topic a couple of years ago where I was going a different direction than he was on something. And he was really, really pushing me. And I said, Chuck, listen, my goal with you is always to inform you, but I don't need a permission slip from you because 8.5 million Virginians gave me that permission slip in November of 2024.
There's a lot to respond to here. One of my favorite parts of this is like, I'm not going to, you don't get to critique Schumer, Ro, because you're a Congress member. That's my lane. I'm a senator, so I can talk about Schumer, but you can't. But like, are we really limiting criticism are people supposed to limit criticism to their branch of government? Like, should Tim Kaine not critique Donald Trump because Tim Kaine isn't in the executive branch because he's not a president? Doesn't really make a lot of sense.
That's a great point. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that that Ro Khanna can't weigh in on who's leading the Democrats in the Senate. You know, like just because he's in the House.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's turn to Ro Khanna. What does he have to say about standing up to Chuck Schumer and opposing this cave from people like Tim Kaine?
On my conversation with Senator Kaine, you heard him there arguing. He believes Democrats did get some concessions. He also believes there was a near zero chance that Republicans were going to come to the table and actually vote on extending Obamacare subsidies. Congressman, how did you see this fight ending, given that so many people were suffering?
Well, I like Senator Kaine. He has served honorably, and people can come to this with a difference of opinion and judgment. For me, this was a moral issue. I think about the taxi driver in Arizona who has cancer, whose premium is going to go up literally from $44 a month to $2,600 a month. Deductible is going to go up from $800 to $6,000. His son came charging at me at the airport saying this could be a death sentence for my father. I didn't do this just to make healthcare an issue. I wanted relief for people like them. And we could have done that. Kevin Kiley, Michael Lawler have floated bills to say, let's extend the tax credits for 1 year. We could have negotiated on eligibility. We didn't pursue any of those avenues. They didn't come, Senator Kaine or others, to the House and say, what are you doing? What is Sam Liccardo doing, a Democrat working with Republicans to try to come to a compromise?
But to the crux of this question, how do you actually get this resolved? There are people actively suffering right now. The lines at food banks were getting longer. Food assistance programs were in limbo. And I guess the question is, how long were you prepared to let that suffering go on, Congressman?
Well, it was cruel. As Representative Ocasio-Cortez said, I mean, this administration, Donald Trump, was giving $20 billion in a currency swap to a corrupt leader in Argentina instead of $9 billion, which would have funded SNAP the whole time. And some of us were saying we would have voted for Republican Josh Hawley's bill to extend SNAP benefits if Speaker Johnson just opened up the House. But you can't have a precedent where the president says he's going to do cruel things to the American people unless the Democrats fold. This was a moral moment. We can pay for SNAP in this country, and we can extend health care tax credits. We're the richest country in the world. My district has $18 trillion. And people are saying, what is going on with all this?
Yes, I mean, it's all true. And the problem is you're dealing with people who are so cruel and sadistic that they're willing to hold hostage millions of people receiving SNAP. So Trump put Democrats in such a difficult position. And Ro Khanna's right. Trump has no right to do that, right? And I understand the argument. Why should you cave to someone who's so sadistic that they're willing to use people on food assistance as bargaining chips?
Well, right, especially because when you can get, the thing is, like, the argument for this is that it was just very stupid because Now they literally did all of that for nothing, as opposed to getting something. And they could have, like, Trump would have caved at some point.
Again, sir, I'm sorry. This is where I just don't agree with that. What evidence is there that Trump would have caved? Like, why assume that?
Because he cares about, because he's an opportunist more than an ideologue. And it would have been, I think everyone would have seen the numbers, or he would have gotten rid of the filibuster. And as a lot of people pointed out, that's probably one of the big reasons that the Democrats didn't want to push it, because had Trump gotten rid of the full filibuster, that meant when Dems were in power, they'd have no excuse for not doing anything.
All right. Well, at the very minimum, no one likes Chuck Schumer, which I think is a good thing. And now Republicans are going to have to own their policies, including, denying extended healthcare subsidies to millions of people. So cutting people off from their healthcare. And what do they have to offer? Just saying blame Democrats. And so I do think that's not a very winning message. And I do think that even though Democrats caved, I do still think, though, that there will be a price for Republicans to pay on this.
Yeah. Well, inshallah. But wow, we got someone in the audience who agrees with Kane and Aaron. So guys, vote. Put your comments in there. Let us know what you think.
Okay. Well, let's turn to some foreign policy issues. Trump's still toying with this whole idea of regime change in Venezuela. Why not, right? The guy who campaigned against endless wars and claimed to be against regime change and all that stuff. Why not deploy a U.S. aircraft carrier to the shores of Venezuela, assassinate fishermen on the high seas, impose crippling sanctions that destroy Venezuela's economy, and force people to flee the ensuing deprivation? That's what Trump is doing, and it's still unclear what he plans to happen. Is he going to do military strikes? We don't know. Anyway, here is one of his allies on this, Senator Rick Scott of Florida.
CBS News reporting this week that senior officials, military officials on Wednesday presented President Trump with updated options for potential operations in Venezuela, including strikes on land. That's according to multiple sources familiar with the meetings at the White House. I wonder your reaction to that news, and at what point you think Congress must get involved with what's happening, especially if it's actually in Venezuela.
Well, first off, I'm appreciative that this is the president that cares about the health and safety of Americans. He's doing everything he can to stop these drugs from coming in and killing our kids. I have grandkids. I don't want them dying because of fentanyl, cocaine, or anything else. So
But I do want other people's grandfathers to be killed, and fathers to be killed, and grandchildren to be killed. I mean, the racism and the dehumanization is just so built into his response. Sorry, yeah, keep going, Aaron. I love the contrast.
Stopping the drugs.
Talking about, I don't want people dying. For people who are just listening, just as he said, I don't want people dying. Fox News cut to a video of Trump bombing a fishing boat, right, and people being killed. So Rick Scott's like, I don't want people dying. Boom! Just as we're seeing video of some new assassination of people in the Caribbean. And the Associated Press recently did an article where they went and interviewed relatives of people who've been killed. And it's these are the people who've died include fishermen just trying to feed their families. And even if among the victims are people running drugs, they're not running drugs to the U.S. Even if they were running drugs to the U.S., that wouldn't justify killing them. But they're just people who, in a country that we've helped destroy because we've imposed sanctions in a long-time bid to overthrow the government, people are desperate. And when you're desperate, you're going to do what you can to feed your family. And in this case, we decided to kill some of these desperate people and claim that they're running drugs to the U.S. It's so cynical.
It's disgusting. But also, American politicians always say that we share values with Israel. And it's true in that both America and Israel likes to assassinate fishermen, like in Gaza or in Venezuela. Yeah.
Fixing the southern border and now going after these drug cartels wherever they are. So I'm appreciative of what he's doing. He's got it. He's doing everything he can to keep Americans safe. And Congress should not slow down what he's trying to do. Look, The thing about Maduro, Maduro's not the president. He's not the duly elected president of Venezuela. He's the head of drug cartels. It's basically a drug cartel-run country right now. So I think President Trump's doing the right thing. Congress should not slow him down.
I mean, it's such a malicious lie. And by the way, the drug cartel that the U.S. accuses Maduro of heading actually once worked with the CIA. So, you know, if we really applied that logic, we'd be like trying to overthrow the CIA.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great idea. It's all just so silly. But they need this pretext because this is their Iraq WMD moment. This is what they need for regime change.
Exactly.
And it comes from the president who's claimed to be against regime change and endless war.
Yeah.
Okay, more from Rick Scott.
Okay. Senator, thank you for your time. We appreciate
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, no, that's all from Rick Scott. Thank you. Thank you, Senator, for that. All right, well, stay tuned. Are we going to war against Venezuela? Well, only Trump knows, and I think he's still deciding. I think what they were hoping for was that Venezuela would just collapse from the show of U.S. intimidation, from the threat of force, from deploying aircraft carriers and sanctions. That doesn't happen because, funnily enough, when you're a country being threatened by a giant hegemon and told, you know, who your leaders should be, some people don't like being bossed around. Some people, like the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, Maria Machado, you know, she likes it because she wants to hand over her country to U.S. plunder. But other Venezuelans don't want that, and that's why the government hasn't collapsed yet. Okay, well, we have one more clip, and we're going to go back to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Has, you know, whatever you want to say about her, I think she's undergone a real transformation, at least in her rhetoric. She's a rare Republican willing to criticize Israel and willing to break from Donald Trump when she doesn't agree with him. And but going back to her CNN interview, she was asked about, you know, her own role in fueling political discord and, you know,
and hate
and hatred. Yeah. And this is what she said.
Posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
All right, so she's setting her up for a real gotcha. Let's see what comes next.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
So just
whoa. I gotta say, I was not expecting that. I thought she was gonna cover her ass or something. I did not expect that. You know, kind of. It sounds like she's been doing work. You know what I'm saying? Like some personal development work. You're muted, Aaron, because you're speechless, or you're just speechless. Yeah, like I am. Yeah.
So some rare humility from a politician, actually taking some accountability for previous actions, and I welcome it. I mean, recall that just a few months ago, after Zahra Mamdani won the primary in New York City, she tweeted out an AI image of the Statue of Liberty in a burqa. So, yeah. You know, is she walking stuff like that back? I hope so. And if she is, then I hope others follow her lead.
Yeah. Has she been working with your dad or something, Aaron? Has she been reading some Gabor Mate?
I don't think so. But any kind of transformation is listen, if more people could take accountability for their words, imagine what kind of world we'd have if more people in Washington could be like that, rather than just The Republican stock answer, as we've seen from the show, is just blame Democrats.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's going to bring us to the end of Useful Idiots Monday morning. Katie, anything you want to plug for the Katie Halper Show this week?
Yes. Tomorrow we are doing an episode on Epstein. We're going to have at least one guest on Epstein. Ryan Grimm, who's done some great reporting on this, will be joining the Katie Halper Show. So definitely tune in. 7 p.m. as always on youtube.com/the Katie Halper Show.
All right. Our website is usefulidiots.podcast.com. Go there to support the show, keep us going, and get bonus content. Thanks for watching Monday morning. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.